Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Hablemos podcast. This is so exciting to me. It's a live conversation about inclusion, leadership, purpose with talented professionals, individuals, humans who are truly serving in a meaningful, authentic way. And it is my pleasure to host these conversations. Happy 2023. If I haven't said that before to any of you, it is wonderful to be able to live another year, start another year, and start this year, this 2023, with a wonderful friend. His name is Pablo Alvarado, and he's going to be today's guest. And I'm very, very excited to introduce Pablo to the whole community, and especially to my friends, to my family, to relatives, to everyone out there, particularly those in Boston, because I know that he's local to Boston and he's going to tell us more about his story. By the way, my name is Carolina Veira, just in case, and I'm hosting, I'll be your host for today. So let me kick it off by saying hi, Pablo, again. I'm very excited to have you here. Why don't you go ahead and just share a little more about you and what you do currently?
Yeah, absolutely. And well, first of all, thank you so much, Carolina, to having me today. Really excited to be here with you and share a little bit of my experience and what are we doing for the community. I think that's something really important. So I can do a little bit of introduction about myself, giving you a little bit of background to your audience as well. So my name is Pablo. I'm originally from Ecuador, born and raised there. I'm from small city, I like to say, which is Cuenca, the third largest in Ecuador. And yeah, born and raised there. I was living in Ecuador till I was maybe 20, 24, 25, 6 years old. And then I moved here into the US, kind of looking for my um, degrees, looking for my master to complete my master degrees, and now in the last few years, just working and serving the community here in Boston, where I'm located right now. So, um, a little bit about my background. I think important to mention why I'm in the U.S. or how I got here. So I have a really strong background in sports. I was actually a racquetball player. For the people who don't know about racquetball, is kind of a tennis sport, pretty similar. We play kind of in a closed room. So for me, it was my lifestyle for the last maybe 20 years. I started playing when I was 5 years old, and then was just a way of life for me. So racquetball, I used to play for my country, for Ecuador, a lot of times. And then I tried to give a shot for the professional space, where that's when the opportunity to come to the U.S. not just to pursue my quote unquote professional career in racquetball, but especially to finish my master's degrees and my education. And racquetball gave me that amazing opportunity to come to the U.S. to move here, study business, something that I love and something that I was doing for a while back home, running businesses around racquetball as well, which was pretty exciting. And yeah, 5 years ago, I moved to Boston, and then I just enjoy living here. I fall in love with the people, with the weather, with the city. And I can say now I'm a Boston citizen for a few years now, and exciting for that. So that's kind of a little bit of my background from a personal perspective.
No, and I love it. And may I say, you say it's a small city, but truly Cuenca, and I've been there, and I love Cuenca. It's a city that a lot of people look to not only visit, but also there's a lot of people from Europe and the U.S. that look forward to retirement because they are going to move to Cuenca. And Cuenca, it's a very, even though it's not as big as Quito and Guayaquil, it's still
Mhm.
very meaningful and a powerful city, and there's a lot of diversity from food to people. I mean, it's a very it's I haven't seen a country like that, a city like that, in, I don't know, and I've visited a few countries, so I'm pretty impressed that we're able to have that in a country like Ecuador. So yeah, one of my top
Yeah.
cities. How
Yeah,
was
a lot
that?
of
How was
people.
growing up in Cuenca?
Yeah, so was pretty interesting, especially in my background. For the people who don't know, so Cuenca is the third largest city in Ecuador, and we're kind of know because of our arts, of our culture, and our sports.
Hmm.
Um, so for me, it was just the perfect mix. Growing up, my dad is an artist, so I was able to grow in a family really with a different perspective of about life, not just your day to day living with an artist can get a little bit crazy sometimes, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, you're not used to other type of classic day to day activities like another, I would say, regular family, let's say. So my case was pretty nice. Always, in experiencing completely different things, be open to the world at the same time, being able to have that interaction with my dad, who was a person who was traveling around the world, showing his art, showing, you know,
Mm,
Ecuador around the world was pretty exciting. So then, growing up was just that. It was super amazing. Be able to experience new things, be kind of exposed for things that a lot of kids at that time was not kind of exposed.
right.
New kind of things. That was nice. And Cuenca is such a beautiful city to grow up.
Oh yeah.
Really safe.
Everybody should visit.
Oh yeah, if you're out there, if you're from the U.S. looking to retire, Cuenca is a great option for you guys. We have a really large American community actually based in Cuenca, just because it's affordable. We use the same U.S. dollar. For people who don't know, that's kind of the nice things about Ecuador. So we use U.S. dollars there, and it can get pretty affordable.
Yeah, and the people are great, not because you and I are both born in Ecuador, but but truly people are wonderful, particularly people in Cuenca, very hospitable and yeah, the food, nothing beats the food and the
Oh yeah.
weather and the arts, like you said, and the architecture. So yeah, I'm firmly in love. Now, in love with Cuenca. Now, I also love tennis,
Mhm.
but I still have to be exposed and learn more about racquetball. But you were, and obviously you continue to play the sport, but you were a representative of a country in that sport. So how does that feel? Because then, uh, is that when you started leading? Because you're a leader, you started at such a young age. So is that what formed you and made you, and maybe you started to, and then you have this upbringing that it's very
Mhm.
artistic and multicultural. So how did that everything play a role in becoming the leader that you are today?
Yeah, and that's an excellent question. I think um, for me, sports and had that background as an athlete, since I was 5 years old till I'm still 30 years old. I'm still playing. I'm still competitive. I'm still like hanging out in tournaments and all of that. But for me, when I was a kid and all that transition till I was maybe in my 20s, being an athlete was a key part of my day to day. And I think that being helped me, especially nowadays when you turn into that professional aspect, which, you learn a lot of things, even though you're not fully aware at that moment that that skills that you're gaining, you're going to be utilizing them in the future. Like, for example, when it comes into leadership, when it comes into hard work and all of that, I think there's nothing better than sports to teach you not just how to deal with success, but for me, the most important thing is how to deal with
Mm.
failures. Someone that is so used to go out
Mm.
in a court and be 3, 4 hours a day just training, practicing, trying to make a shot perfect, and then maybe you go in the first round and you lose. I think the hardest part as a human being is
Mm.
actually kind of take a step back and say, okay, what I did wrong? I prepare myself like anyone else in this tournament, but just the result was not there. And I think that's the difference between, like tennis, for example, like top athletes like Federer or Nadal be able to understand why they are not able to accomplish that success. Um, and just understand that failure, quote unquote failure, that we all kind of think when we lose is a failure, but I like to take as a learning processes. And I think that's something really pivotal in my leadership skills and my leadership career in terms of, okay, we're most likely going to fail, but we will take that as a learning experience so we can
Mm-hmm.
accomplish something more in the future. So, for me, sports been a really key role in my professional career. And then I've been also in sales for such a long time, and I think I'm also gonna blame the sport because of this, because I just like to be such a competitor. I want to always win. I want to always be on top, and I think sales bring me that ability to show that and say, like, okay, I'm gonna accomplish more than any one of my colleagues. I want to do or deliver something more than anything else. And just like sports is, failure, or I don't even want to call failure, but that's not successes that you're having in your day to day, just energy for the next one. And I think that's the main thing for me and the
Mm.
sport is just teach me how to just keep going, I would say.
How to stay hungry and not be like, I like what you say about failure. I do call it failure, but I it's how we see failure, right? It's part
Right.
of the process of succeeding, right? You have to embrace those moments, so you know, or it makes you stronger for what's coming. Because success, like you mentioned, even dealing with success has to be complicated, because now you're thinking you're the best ever, and then guess
Right.
what, maybe the next tournament is not going to be as you're not going to be as successful then. And dealing with all those emotions, I can see how challenging that was starting at such a young age, but how much it has transformed you, right? And it has made you the person that you are today.
Right. And it's a whole journey. Now I can sit down here and share these experiences really calm and just as experience as a person. Uh, but when I was, 13, when I was 10, 15, all of that ages during that process, since I started playing racquetball, I started at 5. So then, imagine, I would say even till 18, it was an absolutely journey. In terms of, I broke so many rackets. I was angry so many times. I was out of my mind so many times. But once again, that step by step in learning along that time, it kind of, there's one point in your life that you just take a step back and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm playing racquetball because I love the sport, because I like to be fit, or just because um, this sport is giving me something else beside the physical interaction that I'm having. And for me was ideal. In one time of my life, I was almost done with my bachelor's degrees at that time. Um, and was that aha moment where it's like, okay, sports being nice. During that time, I was also able to open a small business related with racquetball as well. But then it's just start collecting these experiences and collecting these values that you start creating along the time. And it's just like such a magnificent way of, okay, I spent so much time with friends and family, and I made so many friends across the globe wearing a shirt that says Ecuador in my back, which was amazing. And now all that experiences, I can just put it in a workplace. I can just put it in my day to
Mm,
day with my family, with my friends, but just talking with another people, because a lot of people is gonna come back to you, especially with this kind of background. Like, hey, Pablo, I know you were playing high level racquetball. What I can do to be better, or what are the tips that you can give me?
right.
Um, and
You
for me,
can
that
mentor,
coaching,
right?
exactly, and for me, that
And coach.
coaching perspective, mentoring perspective is super valuable. And I'm lucky enough that now if someone reach out to me, I'm open, 100% open to share that with my experience. But it's now also time to move into the professional career and also say, hey, I learned that from sports that I can
Right.
learn. I can get that feedback and get back to the community in racquetball at that time. And now I'm basically doing the same in my professional day to day, which is, every single thing that I learn in my day to day talking with people. And we will go over a little bit more into my professional background, but there's not a better position for me to talk with people and get that feedback back to them on products and services that people are going to consume on a daily basis. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's quite a journey. I'm always passionate about talking about the sports because it can bring a lot to your life. We sometimes just want to look at the small picture, which is, yeah, we're trying to be healthier and we're going to get into whatever sport that is around. But when you talk about your kids, and when you think about sports, I will invite you to think beyond of just that small time frame where they are just enjoying for a healthier benefit, and go furthermore and say like, okay, how can these actually be a pillar of their development as a person, as a human being? And I think that's really important with the sports that I love to kind of advocate. So yeah, that's what I have on that
Yeah.
side.
And how those, whatever you've learned through that experience, those values, those experiences are transferable to a place, any place of employment. And
Yeah.
now it's interesting how the sport brought you to the US, and also your masters. And but then why Boston? And then furthermore, why OrbisPay? Like what is it that now you're the director of partnerships? What does that even mean?
Yeah, and that's an excellent topic. So
Do you?
while I was, back home and doing all this journey, I was like, okay, I need to get into the next level, which is, getting my master's degrees. I had a family that support me a lot, so I was looking for that opportunity, and I was able to match with something with racquetball that actually gave me that opportunity for a school that was like, hey, we like your background, we like your background not just as an athlete and all your accomplishments, but also your entrepreneurial side, like running a business around your sport, something that you love. So it just gave me the opportunity to come here. Um, and why to Boston? Well, the decision was quite easy for me. I'm a I'm 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 a fanatic of sports. I'm addict to any kind of a sport that you can imagine. We can talk about any sport in this around the globe, and most likely have some knowledge of that just because I'm an addict of it. Um, and Boston was quite easy because I was a Red Sox and a Patriots fan. I know that you're a Bills fan here, but that was one of the big,
Thank you for that. Thank you for
yeah.
that.
That was one of the reasons why Boston. I was like, I love sports. I want to be in a city that I can keep engaging on what I love. My thought process at that time was, oh, it's just gonna be a short stay, just go study, do my thing, and just come back. Um, but well, I choose Boston. I came here. I finished my two master's degrees, and then was like, I actually love this city. I love the
Oh,
community. I love what is around. A lot of the technology that so many startups, so many smart people around. Um, just to give you an idea, once I finished my master degree, as any of us, I was job hunting, and then be able to just show up for an interview and be in the same room with a guy that went to Harvard next to me, and another one that went to MIT in my other side. It's just such a cool experience in terms of like, hey, we're in the same room. And I still feel that I'm the smart kid in this room. So it was really interesting, and then it just hooked me up the opportunity to just being in the top of technology, in the really top of in the biotech space as well. So it's such a nice city to stay around. So I took that opportunity after my studies. For the people who know, being international here in the US is quite challenging after that
hmm.
period that you are studying. But I was lucky enough to find employers that understood what is the value that I can bring into the table, bring that um, not just expertise, but also a little bit of um, ideas and new things that can bring into a leadership committee, and also bring that kind of external uh, feeling as not being an American, 100%, or just like someone who was born and raised here. I like to consider me sometime like an outsider, and when I joined the companies that gave me that opportunity during internships or full-time employment, I was able to bring that diversity and put that in the table. And now the people have other things that
Hmm.
they can consider before putting a product in the market or servicing a certain demographics that the product can cover. So I was, here and there internships, a couple new roles here and there. I had a really nice experience in AI. And then was OrbisPay. OrbisPay appear in front of me. My CEO reached out one of those days. We start having conversations, and then I start learning what is the purpose, his own purpose of the application in this case. Um, and I just fall in love with the mission. And I think once I really understood the mission and then the impact on the people that we help, it was just a no-brainer. And now, I'm 2 years now with the company. I was lucky enough to be one of the first one to be inside the company, and now looking at how we're expanding and all of that. So
Very
yeah,
exciting. What
really
is the
exciting.
mission? What is the mission, Pablo? Because you talk about the
Yeah,
mission. What's the mission?
yeah. So an Orbis Pay, and before going into the mission 100%, let me just kind of explain a little bit of what we do and what it's about OrbisPay.
Absolutely.
So I joined the company from a partnership perspective, meaning I had the opportunity to go out and start advocating and start telling the people what we do here internally. And what we do typically here on OrbisPay, we're focusing to help people that a lot of the cases are not actually um, being served, I would say, fairly in a financial aspect. And it's people mainly living paycheck to paycheck. So for the ones who don't know, here in the US, around 60% of the population is living paycheck to paycheck. That means that as soon as they receive their paycheck, all that funds are gonna go to pay just basic needs like rent, food, health, health insurance, all of that small bills that we all have. But for these people, it's basically working to just pay that. Now, the problem is like what happened is some unexpected expense is happening into this pay period, into this classic two-way pay period, typically here in the US. So that's when OrbisPay come to a place where a really affordable alternative for that employees who need access to their own cash. So basically, we allow them to get access to their salary before regular payday. Um, and these being so important for so many employees, especially what we started looking at into our customers, users, because when we talk about people living paycheck to paycheck, a lot of them are not going to have a really fair credit score. So for them, looking into another alternatives like credit cards or loans, it can be really expensive and really hard to get. So that's why we came with this new proposition of saying to that employee, hey, we're going to give you the opportunity to decide when you want to access your own funds, your own cash that you already work, you already earn. And we're going to give you now the power to decide when you want to access it instead of just be waiting for your employer to run payroll every 2 weeks just because it's easier for them, just because it's more convenient for that HR department to run every 2 weeks. Um, so it's been a hectic year for us. I think typically this is known as an early wage access or on-demand pay, and it's typically offered as an employee benefit. So in the last year, almost 2 years, we start seeing that the market start demanding these kind of services, and especially employees realize the flexibility is not just about working from home, like what I'm doing right now, for example. It's just flexibility in terms of I want to work when I want to work, that can give flexibility into your schedule, for example. But we're advocating in terms of flexibility on how sooner you can access your wages, why you have to wait just because it's easier for your employer. So that's a little bit of value prop. And then going a little bit beyond of that, um, we start seeing that the one of the bigger communities that we serve is the Hispanic community, and communities that most of the cases are not really represented out there and be like offer these kind of products, and that was also kind of a click for me. When I joined OrbisPay, was more about financial wellness and helping people and all of that, which is still the main thing for us. But then I started realizing that I can give something even more to my community. Um, I'm not born here. I was not raised here in the U.S. I came like literally as an outsider, someone that just came to study and just stay here. Um, but then I started learning more and more about the community here in the U.S. and I started really understanding from a financial perspective how difficult it is for them to succeed. Um, and OrbisPay, it became in the last few years for that type of demographic something really important for them to have access to their wages. Something that I stuck in my mind the first time that I saw this stat and says that 30% of Hispanics who use on-demand pay and earned wage access are using to pay for groceries. So then you have to think is okay. There's a lot of people who basically need to decide of just paying your electricity or just buy some food and put it on the table. So when you understand that, it's kind of it's kind of hard to believe that someone needs to have that conversation, needs to pick one of the two. And for us, it was like, okay, that's enough. It's time for me to not just embrace that I'm Hispanic, that I can have a better conversation with other employers, so they can in some way understand, or I can be a nice connector in between that employee and the employer. Um, and honestly, magic being happened since then, especially from my perspective. Helping Hispanics, helping people that actually need that help, and especially using really high technology to help people, because we can use really high technology to maybe pursue you to buy more, for example. That basic AI is basically what it's doing, is just
Hmm.
making you purchase more or spend more or just get into that route. We decide to do the opposite, which is we're using a really cool piece of technology to help people that a lot of the time don't have access to these kind of services. So and what a better way, even for me, an extra step more, which is helping people uh, that looks like me, that is my community, that is community that a lot of the time people don't even think about that they need this kind of services. So um, that's pretty cool. And then when you have one of that users and give you a hug and say like, hey, thank you so much because this is actually helping me, it just goes into a different direction. It's just even more
It's more
exciting.
meaningful. Yeah,
Oh
it's more
yeah.
meaningful. And I want to take us back to
Hmm.
something that you just mentioned. So um for our community, for our Hispanic, Latino, Latinx community, um having access to their payroll, to their money, to the money that they've made, it's so important. And then you just mentioned it, for something as basic as buying food or paying rent, right? And having that ability to do it without the stress of, oh, I don't have to wait 2 3
Right.
more days because I need it now, or if there's an emergency, that also, it's very helpful. And I
Mhm.
believe that many of us have been in those instances where we really really need it now because of an emergency. And thank God we have companies like OrbisPay and the benefits that you all provide to our community, and any community that will be in need of access to their funds. But now you're going beyond that. And I know you've mentioned to me before where you say I'm also or that you're also providing financial literacy, which is, it connects to now your payroll. How do you manage the funds? How do we make it work so it doesn't get to be living pay by check, pay by day by, how do you say, living
Paycheck,
by
paycheck
paycheck?
by
Yeah,
paycheck.
paycheck to
Yeah.
paycheck. So that's part of the literacy component and
Mhm.
and the classes or the information that you're provided. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah. So for us, it's super important to really define what we do, or what is the main purpose of earned wage access or on-demand pay. A lot of people need to make this mistake, which is earned wage access or demand pay are going to help employees to reduce debt, for example, or overcome other kind of financial situations. Where for us, it's super simple. When you're starving, um, a person actually needs some food instead of be teach how to fish, right? That's something that my CEO likes to use a lot. This, and it makes absolutely sense, because if you're super hungry, if I teach you how to fish, um, yeah, it's gonna be helpful for you. But at the end of the day, you need something now, something that can help you right now, and that's what earned wage access does for that employees, which is you need access to that cash to just cover something immediate, because we don't want you to get into overdraft fees, or any of that really high expensive fees that people needs to pay when they miss a payment. um, but for
Or those
us it's
short-term
also
loans that
right,
charge
or,
really
or
high
payday
interest
loan.
rates.
Right, payday loans, 500% interest rates, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Just you go for $100, you are end up paying $500 in the
Yeah.
same amount of time, which is absolutely crazy. um, but for us is we're gonna give you the first step, which is, okay, you're hungry, meaning you need cash. We're gonna give it to you because you already work, you already earn it.
Hmm.
You're just waiting for it. So that's the first step. Is like, okay, you need that. We're going to give you that first stare, I would say, to you going to that, solving that problem. Then we are also trying to, pave that path into financial wellness for that employee. So there's when we start engaging as well with them. And it's like, okay, now that you have a tool that can help you just overcome this emergency, now is what is next for us, right? And for us is then start engaging and start sharing a little bit of what we call a financial literacy. That is no other than make that user aware of what is going on in a macroeconomic perspective, in a microeconomic perspective for them, what it means for them. Like, for example, now that we're suffering by a little bit of inflation, for example,
Right.
is us to be on top of that user in terms of like, hey, you have access to this, but here's another resources that you can start looking at. For example, how you start gonna budgeting under this specific time frame. Something that I want to clarify, because before I go more into this topic, is we do not offer financial advisor. So we're not.
Oh yeah,
It's not that
yes.
sense. It's more like, hey, this is what is happening out there. Maybe you have to be aware of it.
Right.
Um, and that's why we provide a lot of content for them as well, so they can start making um, better decisions for us. And I think all the people can relate on this. Money and the decisions that we make with money, a lot of them comes from um, how we feel. There are a little bit of decisions that we take in that moment, right? um, and a lot of them is decisions that can maybe we can avoid, of course, when it comes into spending, for
Mm.
example.
Or
um,
delay.
exactly, so it's that behavior a little bit that we want to touch on. and
Mm.
and and then these decisions that we all take, basing money or on our finances, a lot of them are driven by um, feelings, or by what is happening to us on a
Or
specific
our cultural
thing.
upbringing too, because some not everybody
Right,
has been raised about or learning. Not everybody has learned about money or how to manage money
right.
efficiently, right? Or not everybody has parents who are, let's say, accountants at home, and they kind of guide, they sort of guide you. Unless you take some classes, and it could be
Mhm.
1 2 3, it doesn't need to be a whole semester in college, but just to have some knowledge of how
Yeah,
to better utilize your money, that could go a long way.
yeah. And so, we're trying to touch that aspect as well. It's not just giving you access of what you earn. Um, we are all about financial wellness, meaning that, we don't want someone taking also all the time, getting access to their wages all the time before payday, because that means that they're in a different trouble. But we're with people trying to help the ones that, they need that extra line of cash for whatever need that they have. And yeah, it's been nice. And once again, I think for me, helping that Hispanic community has been definitely a plus. So engaging with that people, and especially, something that is even more rewarding for me, is not just coming to any CFO, uh, director of human resources, a lot of that. I like when that leadership role is filled by an Hispanic, because they even understand more about this. So the conversation goes beyond that. So I had amazing opportunities to chat with so many HR leaders from the Hispanic community. With small chats, like, for example, I would love to get your feedback till actually in the moment of deploying this service. So um,
Right.
it's been super rewarding from that side.
And it's great that you mentioned that it's also a benefit that employers are provided to their staff and their team members, that they're
Mhm.
just looking for flexibility, because flexibility is one of the top items that, after COVID, employees were looking for their companies to offer to them. Not only flexibility in schedules, but flexibility in how they get paid and have access to their money. I mean, that goes a long, long way. We never know what the individual needs of the people that we work with are, but just having that, the ability of having this type of benefit available and ready for us, it goes a long way. I know you're, and you mentioned it, you're focusing on particular on the Hispanic market, and you see the need. You know, you you all get more and thank yous from our community. So what's your next step? What do you envision to do now for the community and bringing OrbisPay to them? How do people access get a hold of you, or if they want to present this benefit to their companies and their CEOs, how do they go about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So super easy. We have two sides. One is, and this is actually really interesting nowadays, something that we see that is happening in the market, which is we see more and more employees demanding these kind of benefits, demanding this new type of flexibility. So yeah, so if anyone is open to have a conversation, a lot of these, it comes into the educational piece, like teach them how it works, how the tool works from a company perspective. um, just to give you a super high level overview from the company perspective, what we see in terms of benefits, we see an increase of productivity, a reducing turnover just because employees are not now switching jobs because another job just paying a couple dollars more an hour. So there's a lot of benefits from the employer as well. And yeah, if anyone is open to have a conversation, learn more about it, you can or connect through LinkedIn and send me a message, or just going to orbispay.me, which is our website, and just request some information from there. We're going to be more than happy to show you how it works and all the benefits. But yeah, something that I do want to share that for me is really important is, um, when I was introduced to this benefit, of this idea of taking out the variable time when it comes to wages, um, I learned at that time
Mm,
that, for example, the biggest CEOs nowadays in corporate America, they tend to get paid daily. And the reason is because they don't want to miss the opportunity to invest their funds into, investments. Because for them, waiting 2 weeks, a week in really good salaries, it just means that they are losing an opportunity to invest their own money.
mm-hmm.
Now, the interesting thing is that for the people who don't need that access, which can be these really selected groups of high leadership roles in corporate America, they don't need access to their funds, but they have access daily. While the ones who are in the bottom of this economic
Curve.
scenario are the ones who need access daily, but they just have access every 2 weeks. So it's kind of interesting that the ones who don't need it have it, and the ones who need access
Mm.
are the ones that are not having this specific benefit, let's say. So, um, removing that factor time for us is critical. So, yeah, that's super important. And when I learned about that, I was like, okay, we
There's
need to
some, we
do
must
more.
do something, right? We have to
Exactly,
do something. And this is
exactly.
how we start, truly offering or having access to this type of benefit and having more. I love the way that you put it, removing the variable of time for our wages. That goes a long
Yeah,
way, and even it gives us, regular, not the 1% people,
yeah.
it gives us an opportunity to also manage the money the in the most efficient way to us at an individual in a case by case basis.
Right, right. No, that's super important. And once again, uh, financial decisions, all of them comes to your into that soft side of what is going on that day, what is going on that week, so you take that decision. So we want to remove all of that, and now is about what do you need. You need it now. You take now the control, and that's super important. You are now
Mm,
the employee, are the one in control over your wages, which is quite interesting and quite new. I feel that this kind of benefit is just gonna be the norm in the following years. But as that time comes, we're here ready to help.
amazing, amazing. And what's your message to the community, Pablo? Whomever is listening, watching, other than yes, find out more about Orbis Pay, or finding having that access to you. But what's your message in general?
Yeah. So I have two different messages depending on which seat are you taking in this uh, relationship. Let's say number one, if you're a business leader out there, Hispanic business leader that care about financial wellness of your employees, that care about what is going on, or the new things or the new trends that are happening right now, um, I will definitely invite you to take a look of the new things that are coming up into the market. There's a lot of things that, just as us, companies that just found like a specific need for a group of people. In this case, we're talking about 70 or 65% of employees, which is actually quite a large group of market. But I will invite you to take a look of these new trends, to be curious about what is happening. And if you have in some way a link to that employees, meaning if you're an Hispanic leader, and you employ a lot of Hispanic inside your culture, in your company, um, just think about them for a second, in terms of not just giving them access to things that a regular employee is going to have, but also go beyond that and try to find new things that can really add a value to that specific sector or that specific demographic inside your company. And then my message out there for any other one that um, wants to be in my position, for example, like, hey, I saw a dude that was in this podcast, and he mentioned that he went all the way to Ecuador, to Boston, and now in some way is doing something, or trying to impact other people. And if you want to do the same, I will invite you to never give up on what you want to do. My initial goal was not here sitting in this podcast talking about financial wellness in a fintech company. My desire at the very beginning was keep doing what I was doing, that was playing racquetball, having fun. And now we have the opportunity to still have fun, just from a different chair in this scenario. So, just pursue your dreams, reach out to the people that matters, reach out to the people that in some way you think they're having that success, and ask them how they got there. And something that I learned about the community, and I'm super active on that sense, is it's reaching out to people for help, and getting that feedback, or just like, hey, I want to have a conversation. And that's how we met, Caroline. I was like super
Mm-hmm.
curious. I was like, I need to get a couple minutes with her just to have a conversation. And you end up having way more similarities. Like, I never knew that you were from Ecuador, for example. I was like,
Right.
uh, holy crap, we need to get together. So, yeah,
You
just
never know what life is gonna take you, and just by being
absolutely,
open to it. Oh, and you said it perfectly, Pablo. It's just take a chance on you, right? Take a chance
yeah.
on your dreams and what you want. And thank you for reminding us, because that's perfect for 2023. We're still in that month where we're deciding, okay, what are we gonna focus on for the rest of the or during the 12 months of the year. And it's great to be reminded of continue pursuing our dreams, and sometimes asking for help is the best case scenario, and it's not as hard, right? And we're gonna get the help that we need.
Absolutely. And the last thing that I just want to share is something that I learned from sports, from work, to being sales, uh, to also try to get into that masters as well. So it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're trying to look for a new job, if you're trying to look for a school, or get into any program, or just doing your day-to-day job, um, I just want to remind you that every time that you heard a no, it means that you're closer for a yes, for that yes that you want. So if it's a no, in no, I'm sorry, you didn't got into a program. Sorry, you didn't got the job. Um, Sorry, I'm not gonna purchase like product as well. Remind that it always there is, you're closer to that yes. And when you hit that yes, is super rewarding, because you know all the hard work that you put on it. So just want to leave with that. And yeah, of course, whatever wants to have a conversation, I'm always open to engage in different conversations. It can be fintech, it can be sports, it can be whatever. Always open to have a conversation. And thank you so much, Karina, for this space.
No, I have enjoyed this conversation so much. I know we've had other conversations in the past, but this one has been quite special. And I appreciate, Pablo, you sharing your expertise, you sharing your experience, your life with us. But more than anything, that heart, I can really see it where you're willing to share and you're open to serve. So thank you so much for everything that you do, and congratulations for finding OrbisPay and making sure that we all be in the community, every community knows more about this fantastic benefit of and removing the time out of the time value out of our wages. So I love that. It's going to stick with me. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and I'm sure that you enjoyed this wonderful conversation with Pablo. And if you need more information from him, don't hesitate to reach out to him. He's on LinkedIn. He's very active. So thank you again, and thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you soon. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.